All right, welcome to everybody that could be here in person, and for everybody at home and online, welcome. Our entire YouTube community, our Mission Matters community, everybody, as always, we're bringing you great content and a great panel. We got a good one today. So the CPG event, the Future CPG event, and we have a very balanced panel that Chirag put together. So we have the investment side of CPG represented. We have the marketing side of CPG represented. We have the individual product side of CPG represented. So we got a lot of things to go over here today. I'm going to start with some intros and some bios, and then let's have some fun. And just to give you a feel and a flavor for those that have never been to a Mission Matters event, this is not about you sitting there listening to me talk the whole time or even the panel. You get to get involved too. So I kick this off. I'll get some questions in there, make sure we're flowing and having some fun, and then think, on your end, I'll give like a warning. I'll say, okay, this is the last question, and then I'll open it up to the room so that others can ask questions too as well, so we can all get involved and have fun. All right, let's go. So we'll start with Peter. So Peter Nguyen, he's a co-founder and CEO of Ad Exchange Group. He's one of the world's foremost authorities in direct-to-consumer digital advertising and e-commerce. He's founded several of the leading direct-to-consumer digital marketing agencies, fintech and e-commerce distribution companies, and Peter founded Ad Exchange Group in less than 6 years. Ad Exchange has delivered over $1 billion in revenue for its clients. It's an insane number. I want to talk about that. And he's become one of the fastest growing marketing companies to reach 100 million in just 19 months. Let's welcome Peter. Thank you. All right, Onar Chelik is next. Co-founder and CEO of Energy Defense Plus. He's been on a nearly 20-year journey, even though he doesn't look like it, in consumer goods, and he's spanned working with companies across stages of the business life cycle as a consultant, as an executive, and as an entrepreneur. So he's a very balanced career there. As CEO and co-founder of Energy Defense Plus, he is excited about making wellness accessible to all and is on a mission to disrupt a single brand. It's a $1 billion energy shop. Maybe he's going to drop the name down. I'm guessing he will. And he's trying to do this with a sustainable, healthier alternative. And quick fun fact, I was like, hold on, Onar, have we done an interview before? And he's like, no. And I'm like, wait a minute, you have another co-founder. Who is your other co-founder?
Justin Choice.
Oh,
Justin Choice.
Yeah, so Justin had been on the show, and I'm like, okay, this is small world, so we're gonna have some fun, and I'm a big fan of the product and what Justin has already told me about it, and now everybody else gets to learn about it too, so we'll have some fun there. All right, Baron Zhou, he's the head of e-commerce, a CPG at AliExpress. He brings over a decade of expertise in affiliate marketing and digital growth with a proven track record of driving brand success in the US market. He specializes in leveraging innovative strategies to optimize e-commerce performance and foster impactful brand partnerships. And then rounding this group up, all right, Harvey Fines, so Managing Director of Pendulum Holdings. Harvey Fines, an investment and advisory firm, Harvey Fines, Managing Director of Pendulum Holdings, which is an investment and advisory firm. He's formerly the Managing Director of BDT and MSD Partners, a merchant bank that provides advice and long-term capital through its affiliated investment funds to family and founder-led businesses. Previously, Harvey helped build Fosun's Group's global direct investment platform as Managing Director. All right, we got through the bios. All right, so step one, right? Everybody good? We still awake? I didn't put us to sleep yet? All right, good. Don't worry, like I said, it's not just me talking, it's okay. All right, so I guess just to get this kicked off, I'll start, you're at my left, Peter. So a lot of things happening with selling on social. A lot of things happening with that, social media, social commerce. TikTok shop, I'm sure nobody in this room's heard of that, right? Come on, we're all hearing, should we be doing it? Does it make sense for a brand? Does it not make sense for a brand? What should we be thinking when it comes to TikTok shop and just in general, selling on social?
When it comes to TikTok shop, my background, 22 plus years in the e-commerce space, and then, I was there during the rise of when Google paid ads were 5 cents, 2 cents, and then, our world in the direct-to-consumer side, we scaled that side, and then when Facebook, and then IG, and then for the last decade plus, as we all know, in the DTC space and CPG space, things are very, very expensive. It's the ROASs are less than 1 sometimes. It's just very, very, very difficult. And someone who's built agency on paid media, right? It's harder than ever. And then all of a sudden, last summer, TikTok Shop comes, and a lot of my clients in the past who I would just turn down, 90% of those clients are like, you know what, your price is too little, the margins aren't there, D2C, all this other stuff, and then those same clients are crushing it on TikTok. And it's for me, someone who's exited, some of my other past companies, and I was like, okay, TikTok, just seeing where all the curves are is exactly where a lot of the same brands and whatnot that I turned down in the past are absolutely doing really, really well. And so in this social commerce space, just very simple statistics on this. By 2028, of all global e-commerce sales, social commerce, so you guys know the difference between social commerce and just e-commerce? So social commerce means within the social media platform, the actual sale of the product stays within the platform. So what TikTok Shop does is obviously, instead of what you would buy an ad, what we would do, we'd buy an ad on Facebook and then you go to the, the brand site. Here you stay within TikTok, make the purchase with like one click with it, and then you stay within the platform. And so that's the difference between social commerce and just normal e-commerce. And so with social commerce, by 2028, 22% of all global sales globally will be through social commerce. And this is just, and so here with just TikTok, it's maybe, tens of billions of dollars right now, where in China and in Asia, it's like a $600 billion industry. And there's two components. There's the TikTok Shop side, which is the social commerce side, and the other side is the TikTok Live side, which is live shopping. Think of QVC, right? All live shopping, and so that has already exploded. And so if you look at what we have today, TikTok Live just came, around March of this year, right? So it's just brand and new and nascent. But over in China, there's one influencer who did a $1.4 billion day. You see what I'm saying? And so it's already a thing right here, and it's just barely getting started. And so for me to see, and a lot of people are even saying it's just kind of too late to get started. I have one of my old dear friends of mine. He didn't know anything about digital. He sold his company, retired for 7 years, did yoga, wrote a yoga book. And then I remember him visiting my office because he sold his company, is a retail guy. And then, he spoke, I had an event last Wednesday on social commerce, like the first social commerce called Creator 360. And I had him speak, this is the first time I'm speaking on stage about this whole thing. And his brand is a brand called Guru Nanda. And he's done tens of millions of dollars in a single month with this one single brand. I think he's the top TikTok shop. And he was telling me, how did he do it? I was like, I asked him, it's more luck than anything because he was just one of the very first TikTok shops, one of the first 5 TikTok shops in August of last year get started, and you had all this eyeballs, no shop, and so to that point, to me, this whole social commerce is just barely a fraction of where it will be, could be, should be, right? And TikTok's putting a lot of efforts and marketing dollars into. And we're already seeing the first $1 million days on TikTok Live, Several people broke the $1 million days on TikTok Live already here in the US. And so, and one of my partners, Michelle Fon, she's breaking records. TikTok says typically TikTok Shop, you're selling at $35 or $40 and under type product, very heavily discounted. Michelle's selling at $200 to $239 products, expensive, which is blowing TikTok's mind because it's not the case. And so we're seeing this new evolution happening. It's here to stay. It's only going to grow, and so this is absolutely something that you should pay attention to. And I've been at every growth, stage with the companies I've built, and a large part of that. And so it's very exciting times right now.
Shrag, you hear that? Where's he at? There we go. We got to figure something out over there, right? Yeah. You want to jump in there? On the TikTok shop or just commerce in general. I don't know if you're doing anything at AliExpress or anything else It's open format. I won't.
Yeah, of course. It's very inspiring what Peter just shared because social and also e-commerce are naturally connected, right? It's hard to believe that you're launching a brand without any influencers to test it, to use it, to endorse it. So actually, from AliExpress, because AliExpress, for those people who might not be familiar with that, maybe you have heard a stock called Alibaba or Baba, our stock exchange, it's founded by Jack Ma. So AliExpress.com is a B2C platform, marketplace, We're here in US domestic market. We're selling products from local and also from overseas to US audience. So what we realize that it seems there's a lot of a challenge for those merchants on the platform. Why? Because for CPG brands, especially you're in early stage, bootstrapping or you're still looking for 10x growth in the next maybe 24 months, you always find it hard to find the right influencer groups to back you. It's always hard to find the right distribution channels, online or offline, to have a smooth transition. So that's why even though we are an e-commerce platform, but we are also an open platform ecosystem. So we bring in TikTok, we also bring in other like Awin, Rakuten, and all the other affiliate programs on those platforms here in the US market to help us to grow. So that's why it's more like a integrated, cohesive solution for our merchant, and that's why actually just according to the report from yesterday, we got a double-digit growth again for the next Q. Yeah.
Wow, great. Harvey, would you want to, if not directly related to social or piggybacking on that, like in general, like, CPG brands on the investment side, like is this kind of going to the equation of when you're looking in companies and looking at things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple of trends that we're seeing, if you look at the incumbent CPG brands, they're pretty content to stay with their large brands and not really grow. I mean, any kind of innovation they have is probably around flavoring, not so much new products, right? And so it leaves a lot of room for the emerging brands, some of which are in this room, to take some of those white spaces that are available and focus on kind of distinct niches. And one of the ways they're able to do that is because of people like Peter, who can all of a sudden have direct consumer, not just marketing, but actual sales. And so we see a couple trends there. One is the direct consumer capability. And for us, we focus a lot on athlete and entertainer-owned brands, because they have a natural following on social to begin with, and then from there they can expand beyond that. The other trends we're seeing is around ethnic foods. So like CJ Foods in Korea, they've got Korean dumplings that are frozen that they're starting to sell in the US. Siete, which is sort of better for you foods, right? It's gluten-free chips. They're just in the process of selling to Pepsi for $1.2 billion. So I think there's a lot of these niches that are there, but a big reason why they can succeed is because of social. They don't have to have the same kind of marketing that Doritos and some of these other big brands historically have had to spend money on.
Owner, let's get you involved, man. All right, so Energy Defense Plus, maybe talk to us a little bit about it and competitive space, right? The beverage space, specifically the shot space that you're in. Like, tell us a little bit more about why you started the brand.
That's a good question. I've worked in CPG for my entire career, and when I moved here to the US, I was like, clean slates. Let me launch a business. Let me do something that's purpose-driven. Let me do something that makes wellness accessible. And I looked at the non-alcoholic space first, and I really kind of zoomed in with my co-founder on the energy shop space. And it's really interesting. Like the energy space broadly has grown from like 13 billion to 22 billion in 4 years. I don't know if you guys know Celsius, but they grew from 130 million to 2.6 billion in 4 years. And they did it by positioning themselves differently. And when you look at the energy shop space, it's just been it's a 1 billion category that's been stagnant for like the last 5, maybe even 10 years. It's got one player. You asked if I was going to name it, I will. It's 5-Hour Energy. Everybody knows it. And it hasn't really innovated. If you look at the marketing of 5-Hour Energy, it's men, it's only men, it's NASCAR, and it's kind of necessity. So our whole thing was like, where can we introduce something that's healthy? The energy space already had it, but the energy shots, that was what we wanted to focus on. It was, so, our whole thesis was, we have an opportunity to change the space, so let's make a product for the modern consumer. It tastes better, it's healthier, it's sustainable, it's in aluminum packaging, and it's, for busy people that aligns with their values. And we've seen that in other categories, and we haven't seen it yet in the energy shop space. And we just launched on TikTok on Tuesday, so I'm going to
And you didn't jump all over that a moment ago?
We haven't done anything yet. I was excited about it in the first place, now I'm really excited.
I was like, you didn't jump on that? You should have been raising your hand, me next. And then telling everybody to go grab some.
Follow us.
Yeah, there we go. Come on,
Get
man.
Energy Presents Plus.
Thank you. Looking at the camera, man. We got a YouTube audience too. We got to get that going. All right. Baron, speaking of competitive spaces, the beauty space, very competitive space. What is AliExpress like doing that's a little bit different, and how are they addressing, like, as a platform, like the need of those types of users?
Sure. Just before answering that,
TikTok shop? Wait, no.
how many of you, let's take a guess, what kind of product or maybe what kind of subcategory do you think is the best selling product on AliExpress.com? Take a guess. Okay, those who already shared, please don't tell.
What was it? Say it
Take a
again.
guess.
Out louder, louder.
Louder. Try
Zero
louder.
guesses?
Beauty, or fashion.
Fashion?
In beauty category? Yeah.
Skincare. Like,
Skincare.
yeah.
What else? Maybe subcategory, even more? Or
A little mask, a
product?
little moisturizer. Come on.
No? What else? Hair care, very close. What else?
Chapstick. Oh, sorry.
This is not for hair. What else?
Chapstick count as...
One last chance. What's that?
Furniture.
No. Actually the top one subcategory is synthetic hair. Synthetic hair. Nobody else synthetic hair. Synthetic hair. Hair wigs. Because AliExpress.com, we have a very large African American population. Actually, we start to notice that category is growing like double digits every month. And right now, one of the brands called Rebecca Hair is one of the biggest seller and also brand on the market. And their margin is so sweet. I will be happy to introduce investors to them. So back to the question. Beauty industry, beauty, personal care, and also food and beverage has been our focus for 2025. We want to, bring more brands to the platform, but at the same time, we want to build an ecosystem around AliExpress. Because AliExpress is not just the marketplace. We are looking for, so what my job is at AliExpress. The official one is category management leaders, but actually, I'm looking out for the white horse. And then we want to bet on it. We want to bet on it. How we are going to bet on it? The business model that we create is that the brand or the product don't have to spend your own dollars on marketing. But actually the platform, according to our algorithm, is going to spend the money on the right product. And for those winners on the top of the list, or if we're going to do ads throughout all the channels, no matter it's from Meta, no matter it's from Google, no matter it's from TikTok, once the winner shows themselves, then we're going to increase the investment. So basically our model is that all you have to do is a wholesale price plus dropshipping cost. Then that's it. You don't have to worry about it at all. And for the daily operation, it's really hassle-free because we have the entire team here in Pasadena office. So this is the model that we want to create. We want to minimize your operational costs. We want to make sure that your brand or your product could get picked by the team and also by the algorithm. Then we're going to support it and we're going to endorse it through different kind of marketing promotion. So that's why we always want to make sure three things matters. The brand matters. We want to choose the brand. We want to invest in their own images. You want to invest in your own content. Second, we want to make sure the growth matters. The growth, we're looking for 5 times 10x growth for 6 to 12 months. And of course, very important, mission matters. We want to make sure the mission matters. We want to make sure that we always reach the goal that we set at the beginning.
I think you just made a reel. Come on. Mark that one. Of course, mission matters. Come on, I agree with you. Thank you. Harvey, so keeping it kind of along the same line of opportunities in different niches and or industries, how are you, given the current geopolitical environment, how are you finding opportunities, CPG opportunities or investment opportunities, and like what does that look like? Like how are you doing that?
So obviously, the U.S. markets have a complicated relationships with China and with Europe, but we think those opportunities are still there. So the world is still pretty global. If you think about what I mentioned before about the Korean brands coming into the US, but I think there's opportunities for US brands to go into China too. Despite the geopolitical issues, it's not a conflict between the populations or the markets. So historically, US brands have done incredibly well in China. They still do. I think CPG has been a little bit, the emerging ones have been slow, right? Because the larger players have been there and done well. But I think there's an opportunity for the emerging brands to go there too, for a couple of reasons. One is, US brands historically have resonated very well there, from food all the way to, to apparel. Everything from restaurants to CPG products. And if you look at the broader consumer marketplace in China, one thing that's happened is that it's not just the big brands that succeeded. Again, using apparel as an example, even the mid-tier brands have too. So I think there is a real opportunity for especially the differentiated and very innovative US brands that have a different point of view to go over there and grow their markets, especially when it comes to premium pricing and some kind of better for you products, which the Chinese consumer is craving. So I think that's an opportunity exists as well. Europe is another one because they don't have the same kind of innovation that happens in the US. Like look at just the brands that are here.
Yeah.
Right, there's only a fraction of that happening in other continents.
Amazing. All right, so this will be my last question. I'm going to do a quick round, and then I'm going to open it up to the group, like I said. So definitely have some questions ready. If not, I can ask more questions. Don't worry about that. But I want to definitely get everyone else involved while we have these amazing leaders up here. Peter, man. So you've done a lot in sales, you've helped a lot of brands. I need you to open that playbook for me, man. Like what should people be thinking about? Are there other brand owners here, co-founders, business owners here? Hands, yeah, the whole lot, come on, man. Open that playbook at home in YouTube, they're gonna wanna hear it too. Give us some of that playbook on how to maybe stretch our marketing dollars, effective strategies, like go.
I think that playbook has definitely evolved and changed over the last 15 years I've been doing this. Today, I'll be relevant today because that's the most important thing. Obviously, we're talking a lot about TikTok. That's a heavy focus of ours now. And, the playbook that's working where we're seeing kind of rinse and repeat success with brands starting from scratch is, so first and foremost is where I feel like in the influencer marketing space, what democratizes this space in TikTok is before an IG and Meta and the other platforms. An influencer with 1 million, 2 million followers has a way higher chance of going viral than someone with 10,000 followers. And so, but on TikTok, you're seeing people with a few thousand followers, with the TikTok algorithm, which is very, very different, can go viral. And so now it's a kind of a numbers game. You don't need necessarily these big mega influencers. And don't get me wrong, we work with a lot of those and they do help. But if you can, the playbook is you work with these micro-influencers and make sure it's a numbers game. And when one of them go viral, right, then you then you turn on the paid on TikTok. And then what normally an agency you might get, back in the day we'd get 2, 3, 4x ROAS, return on ad spend. Now in Meta it's hard to get 1 or 2, 1.5, right? And then all of a sudden when something goes viral on TikTok and not have to spend these big influencer marketing dollars, now you can get 3, 5, sometimes 10x ROAS, right? And then that's the playbook, right? So find a video that go viral of yours, spend on that one, and that's working day in and day out. But it's a numbers game, and you need to work with the right agency. With ours we have well over 1,000 of these micro-influencers where you can pour into, and we tell them to post every single day on your brand for a month, right? And it's a numbers game. You have thousands of these videos, right? Something's gonna hit, several of these are gonna hit, and then you spend. So that's one of our little secret playbooks that's a rinse and repeat without having to spend a huge risk on some big mega influencers that you cross your fingers. And I think, no diss on the influencers. I've spent the $250,000 on the Dan Bilzerians on this product and that product, and I've done all those things and I've seen it for myself. But you don't have to take those risks anymore with TikTok. And I would also say the things I was saying earlier about TikTok is, before there was like you needed in D2C, you needed usually 4, 6, 8x of your COGS. You needed that type of margins, and now TikTok, you know, the $15, $20 products, I would just pass on those because now these are the guys who are dominating TikTok. Because if you look at the typical TikTok user, the Gen Zs, you know, the alphas, or alphas aren't spending much right now, yeah, but the Gen Zers right there, they don't have a lot of money, but they have maybe a little bit, and so they're looking for the heavily discounted things under $20, and so like for Guru Ananda, he's selling hundreds of thousands of these units of different things, but they're all like $15, $20, right? And it's a numbers game, you know, lower margin and making sure. I would say the other big thing is just, you know, Puneet Nanda spoke at our event, and one of the things he said, two advice, I'm going to repeat two of my favorite advice that he gave the audience. Number one, he was like, you know, he fired his head of marketing because his head of marketing, this guy's an older Indian guy who's just like, doesn't look cool, you know, whatever. And the marketing person said, you shouldn't be the face of your brand. Like, you're not the influencer guy. And he fired her, and it's like, I'm just gonna go, just post every single day. Just be him, be imperfect. And he just continued to post and post and post. And he became the biggest guy out there, right? Wow. And imperfectly, that's the first advice, is just feeding the algorithm. TikTok's about feeding this algorithm. Even when you go live shopping, right? Like Michelle, you know, she's like dominating on it, but she's feeding these algorithms, and you're teaching the algorithm, and it's all about the algorithm. When you talk to TikTok corporate, they're all talking about it. We can't change the algorithm, and so you're teaching the algorithm what you want to be, you know, and who you want to be, and so you're feeding that. And then second thing I would say, from that perspective, is make sure you have inventory, right? And that's a big thing. Is just like, because when something goes viral, right, it's just like it can sell out like that, and we've seen this time and time and time again. So just be prepared for that. You know, and perhaps have the right capital partners in the back end. Obviously, you can just sell out and not be able to run away. But then those are two really good advice.
Your playbook and your history with Energy Defense Plus that you care to share with the other co-founders out here, and founders.
It's when we built our strategy, and then what we're still adapting it. It was really focused around capital efficiency, placements, and finding our kind of consumer fits. And it's you know, that journey is changing, but it was, you know, we named it Energy Defense Plus because our competitor is 5 Hour Energy. We wanted the name to explain what it is, you know, which also saves us a little bit on marketing. We put our money initially, because it's a convenience store product, we put it on placements. It's, you know, we found out that our product sells better when it's next to 5 Hour Energy. So that's where we spent our money on, and that's where we saw our returns. We found out, we had a convenience store next to a hospital, and we found out that nurses loved our product. So we went to their hospital and said, your nurses love our product, can you sell us in your cafeteria? And they did. We had a connection at SpaceX, right? It's engineers love our product. It's like a healthy energy shot, and they love energy. So we've been expanding to other kind of tech workplaces. So it's really been about focus and doing what we can with limited capital so we can create that story. It really is. We didn't even expand to all of California. We focused on Southern California so we could go deep instead of going wide. And kind of getting that velocity story, I think that's the key here. And that's really helped reposition, find out who our consumer is, and focus on them.
Baron, your vantage point, I mean, looking over a lot of different brands, anything from the playbook that you've noticed that, you know, you'd like to share?
Sure. Actually, I can share that all night. To save the time, I probably just share like 3 things that's on the top of my mind that is, I think is really very helpful. We have been really paying a lot of attention to identify those winners from all those brands. I used to work at Indiegogo. For those people who do not know, Indiegogo is kind of a rival platform for crowdfunding than Kickstarter. So what we do, the algorithm, beside the algorithm, that we look for certain successful factors. The first and also number one, especially for CPG brands, is that the content. The content is king. Because the content, especially like video content, is a conversation, is a language. Right now you speak, you communicate, you try to win over Gen Z. So content is really the key. So you should really diversify the different kind of format for content other than TVC. Right now, you know, most of the brands that we know on platform that's been doing really well, no matter on AliExpress or Amazon or TikTok, especially TikTok, they try to push like 300 or even more, 500 videos from influencers from their own like video reels every month. Push that. Because why? Because last month they tested about 30 new ideas. Each idea is 10 videos, right? And then they try to narrow it down to the top 10 ideas, try to narrow it down to the top 5 audience group, then let's do test again. So you always have to iterate that. You always have to optimize that. That's a secret sauce between all the ads, between all the algorithms. So content is the king. Without that, you lost your voice to the next generation. So second factor is that pay more attention to affiliates. So right now, the Meta and the Google stock price is so high. Why? Because they are making a lot of money from home, from you guys. And also, of course, the investors backing you guys, right? So that money fuels the stock price, and that results in a very high CPM or CPC, if you're looking at technically. So to balance that and also to achieve a long-term growth, no matter from your .com or from your overall business strategy, is to focus on affiliates. Use different kind of coupon cashback sites, try to get into different ID communities, work with influencers, work with carding offers or whatsoever fits. That will diversify your marketing costs, and eventually that will result in a very hard. In the history, on the top of my mind, normally the affiliate channel will result in the highest ROI in your overall channels. Number three, of course, diversify your distribution channels. AliExpress, we're trying to be your best alternative other than your .com and also Amazon. So that's why for Mission Matters community, we're offering zero commission for selling on AliExpress for a limited period of time.
Yeah.
So feel free to discuss that after this. But overall, 3 factors very important: diversify your distribution channels, try to focus on affiliate marketing, and also content is the key.
All right, and I'm gonna pitch that question to Harvey, and then that'll be the last one for me, and then I'm gonna open it up for everyone. And Harvey, I know your compliance will be coming after me, so I'm gonna ask this in a very specific way without mentioning any names of companies. Open up a playbook, like what can you tell us? What have you seen that's worked?
Yeah, so when we look at companies, I think for me, the number one thing to look at is what's your reason for existing? And I say that because does the world need another Coca-Cola or Pepsi? Not really. But maybe there's a need for a better for you energy drink. Maybe there's a need for, we have a company that does hair care for African Americans, which is very different than the traditional hair care products that are out there. So Aaron and I need to talk about having AliExpress be a distributor of that. Or we have a kids hydration product, right? That's better for you, so doesn't have the same kind of levels of sodium as a Gatorade. So there's a reason for it to exist, and that occupies a white space that there's an opportunity. The second thing is, and I know this is really simple, but a lot of companies don't actually do that, is people have to like the product, right? So make sure that the consumer, you do not just taste testing, but go to certain actual channels and get real traction. So one of the companies, we made sure that it sold pretty well through e-commerce, it over-indexed compared to other snack food brands that are in its peer group, and it gave us confidence that, look, now we can launch this in retail. The third thing, and even though this sounds cliche, I'll give you some specifics around it, is the management team really matters. So, and it's not just the quality of the team, but it's the fit for what the product is and where the stage the company is in. We have a plant-based snack food company, and the CEO that we brought in, she actually not only worked in an adjacent area, so she worked in better for you dairy products, so she understood this space, she understood the channels, had relationships with Whole Foods and Sprouts and the like. And she understood the playbook of how to get that from the better for you shelf to the mainstream shelf, which is pretty important. The second thing is that she also had experience building a brand from 50 million to 300 million. So for the stage the company in, she knows how to do the kind of basic stuff that you need to do to grow it. Whereas sometimes you get a big resume person, they don't know how to do the grassroots stuff that's necessary at that stage. Because I think for a lot of, and why I say that if the product sells well, then if you have the right kind of management team, then you have the blocking and tackling that's necessary to get that product to certain level of sales. Now, it doesn't guarantee you that it becomes $1 billion company, but it at least gets you to the point where you can have a real thriving business because you already know that the people like the product, and it's just a question at that point of getting the right distribution, getting the marketing spend so that it's actually profitable for the business to reach out to the consumers that you're looking for. So those are kind of the three things that we focus on when we look at companies.
All right, thank you. All right, let's open it up for some questions. Let's see those hands. Who's first?
Great panel, and my head's buzzing with a lot of things. You guys know who Peter Drucker is? Yeah, great, right? So I'm thinking of distant time, right? Exponential growth, you mentioned velocity, the speed at which things are moving, and you're all businesses that are moving very quickly, right? So we have Moore's Law occurring, we have AI, and we have this movement shifting. And I'm wondering with your businesses, if you're thinking about velocity and speed and exponential growth and how you tackle it. You brought up the 5-hour energy drink, right? It was a first mover in the market, correct? And then you found a niche.
Yeah.
And then anyone who knows what's true value, I've been thinking about that because we've been working with them in a specific way. They were an old company, turned a century. A smart guy came in and said, I'm going to roll up these small private companies to 4,000 franchises and involve them. Fortunately, private equity group got in and involved, right? And now another company's coming in. So the question is, how do you guys look at the speed at which things are changing and grab hold of that and hope that your businesses hang tight? And are there possibilities for roll-ups in the future where you guys see aggressive possibilities within your own marketplace that you can do a true value? Are we going to see 100-year-old companies, or are things moving at a pace that you may not see every time?
I mean, I can give an example from us where we have to grow fast. I come from a corporate environment and I'm doing a startup. That environment, the insight had to come before you did anything. Decision making, it was slow, and those companies aren't adaptable. And you're seeing in the CPG space, the portfolios of those larger companies, they can't renew them. I think the last big disruptive thing in CPG was Nespresso with Nestle, right? That changed things. But even in the beverage space, Prime in sports, Celsius is energy, Liquid Death and water, White Claw and alcohol, right? They come from something small and grow super fast, super quickly. And I think the strategic buyers are going to be buying those businesses because they need that for portfolio rejuvenation. I think the life cycles of businesses are smaller, so you don't have that growth in perpetuity that you used to, so the valuations might go down, people are less loyal, you can't stretch brands into adjacent categories as much as you could, but it is like you have to be, in my experience, we test it, if it works well somewhere in 5 stores, great, we roll it out to the other 200. So it's really speed of decision making, and the one thing I've learned in this space is the insight doesn't come from thinking, the insight comes from the action. So you do the work, and you learn from that. There's no learning behind my computer screen.
I want to echo part of that because if you look at even in TikTok, like the several dozen brands who do 7 figures or more a month, I think one of them are one of the big companies, right? And so it's just in general, and it's always been the case in every newer market, newer platform, all this other stuff. And so this is where the true entrepreneur, the nimble ones, the small teams, have the early mover advantage, right? And so so for me, it's just like from that decision making, most of my wealth, my empire that I've ever built, has all been being there early, either first mover or a fast follower. I built a lot more on the fast follower, just kind of seeing the needs and. From that, and then with AI, I would say like right now, we talked about content, like that's a huge thing on TikTok. You have to generate a bunch of to feed the algorithm, but then with AI, like whenever Michelle Phan, she did Ipsy, 40 million a month, all this sort of stuff. Whenever she's doing a live, every super live she does, she has to feed in around like two dozen worth of like content reels that she just prepared for a super live, and now we're using AI to do that, right? Instead of human capital and different things like that. So those are the tools are there, and it's just moving at such a rapid pace. And so you just kind of have to keep an eye on. To me, like the entrepreneur who's techy enough, who's fast enough, and can keep up with the fast moving is going to continue to win.
I think there's more than one way to build a business, right? So you can have capture a moment in time, kind of businesses, especially in the CPG space, because you can scale really quickly. And those will sell for, 100 million, a billion, something like that. And then there's, and this is where I have a little bit more of a bias because this is where I focus most of my career is on, enduring businesses, right? And if you have the right elements for the business, great product, good management, then you adapt to the different things. And Peter talked about how even in his, 6 years, right, the marketing trends differ. But it's the same type of companies that are using those channels to reach out to consumers. So I think you can have those enduring businesses that throw up cash flow consistently because they reach a point where they become the Kleenex for the consumer, right? So I think those are two different ways to build businesses, but both are still available even with changes that are happening in how they're distributed, how they're marketed.
All right.
Did I hear you say that for TikTok shops, Gen Z, TikTok cheaper is better? Like if it's a high-end consumer product, $70, $80, it's harder because it's outside the normal spend, whereas if it's 10 or 15 or 20, it's easier. Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, currently right now, that is the case. In Asia, that is the case. We're looking to try to build that middle market because that's where I feel that there's a white space. And we're starting to see these on the
Does that mean
slides.
it's like $20 and above?
I would say, no, it's like $35, $40 and above is that now like that middle market, right? And so, but like,
How do you do that?
feed the algorithm right now is because right now, the current existing markets think about TikTok as getting a heavily discounted, something that's very affordable, something that's kind of like pop culture trending, demonstrable, everyone's, all these influencers, that's kind of cool and hip, right? And it's just kind of a no-brainer purchase, $15, I see it everywhere, let me just go purchase it one click, right? So that's where it is headed towards right now. That's where it has been for the most part, right? And so, but there's still a long way to go. There's still, and I think especially here in North America, I think that's where TikTok wants that. They want to see that. And so this is where like TikTok told Michelle, for example, in the lives, like, okay, go sell the $30, $40 product. And so let me try this $200 product. And she's like, no, that doesn't work. And then she sells out in one day on this live more than this brand's entire month with all the other influencers, right? But this is again right now in live shopping, right? For example. So we're starting to already see these exceptions, and we're trying to make that the norm.
And I think that's just because, in the US, social commerce is pretty new, right? So in China, it's been around for a long time. So it's to the point where there are different types of channels for different hierarchies of pricing. So you could sell, Hermes and Chanel sell through live streaming in China, but they just on different channels, not on TikTok, right? So that'll evolve in the US too as social commerce becomes a bigger part of the market.
Anyone else? Last question? All right.